Thanks.
You sure? I don't want you to miss anything. This is gold.
That opening statement better be strong.
There's not much there. So I don't have much. Might just open up. I'll be quick and obviously just a little recap on last weekend. Not coming away with any points was disappointing, but I'll keep coming back to it. I thought our guys did an awful lot of good things. We continue to get better at things, and week over week that's been our goal. So we'll get back at it. We played a really strong Notre Dame team, fairly even for 6 periods, and we're going to need that same type of effort against a Michigan team here Thursday and Friday. So I know our guys are looking forward to it. There's good jump, good life on the ice last night, and we'll get back after it today and get ready for Thursday.
Danton, this will be your first game against Michigan as head coach of Michigan State. Thinking back to your time here, growing up in East Lansing and as a player, what does the Michigan rivalry mean to you?
Well, it's growing up, not just playing here, but growing up as a Michigan State fan, and with my rest of my family, I'll go in here, pretty deeply ingrained what the competition and what the rivalry means. So, when we were here, these were the games that we really look forward to. There was always a few things. The GLI is huge, and the Michigan games, and then you went to the NCAA's after that. So they're important. They're always the intensity is always ramped up. The emotion was always ramped up, and it was just an awful lot of fun to play in.
Danton, your record against Michigan as a player was 14-6. And interesting enough, though, you never played them at Joe Louis Arena in the Great Lakes. You were always in the tournament, and they were never in the finals and so forth. So interesting that you never faced each other. But when you look at Michigan now, Dan, under Mel, any difference compared to what Red used to put out there?
Well, I think that probably true indication of that will be in 3 or 4 years once you really it takes a while to implement things, but in looking at them there's some structural things a little bit, but they're still an extremely fast team. They transition really well. They've got some dangerous forwards, so we're going to have to be able to deal with that. So whether it's Red or Mel behind the bench, they're going to get up and down the ice, and it'll be up to us to handle that in a few different ways, but definitely try and limit their opportunities in those situations.
So feel weird to coach against players that you coach at the program?
Yeah, it's I've done it a lot this year. We've seen guys off and on, and then we've also back when with the U.S. team we'd play colleges, and a lot of our guys would be at the places. So I've been through it a little bit. I think there's 5 or 6 of my guys, and I think there's another 5 that played with the other age group. So a lot of about half that team I know pretty well. So I think it's fun. It's neat to see where they're at. It's neat to see them continue to compete. I always like keeping, it's probably one of the better rewards or feelings you get as a coach is seeing what guys have played for you and how they're doing, and not just when they're playing hockey, but what they're doing in life and moving on. So, this is one of the few times or few fields where you get to for 4 years after you're done coaching a guy, you get to continue to see him play a little bit. So that'll be neat, and it's been nice at the end of games, and I saw a few guys with Notre Dame that had played for me at the end of the series, just being able to say hi to them and tell them they're doing a good job.
Denton, I heard you say last night we got to get some of our older players to tell our younger players what this is about. In particular at Yost, when you were a player, is there any building quite like Yost to go into?
It's that's hard to say. There's some really good atmospheres in college hockey and all that, but I think when you add the rivalry part to it and you add Michigan State to it, that there's on the ice there's a little extra emotion, a little extra energy, and I think it's the same in the crowd, and their student section does a good job, and it's a loud building. So I don't know if you can really prepare them for it, but you know what? That's something that's a good rite of passage, and I think our older guys will give them a good feeling for it.
And frankly, what Yost is, without all the nastiness and maybe vulgarity, is what you want Munn to be, isn't it?
Well, you want an arena where it's hard for the other team to play in, and when it gets noisy, and when something goes wrong for your team and you're trying to correct it, you can't hear the coach trying to tell you what to do. So, and I thought last weekend it was really good here in Munn. I thought Friday and Saturday night the crowds, there was a good buzz, there was lots of energy, the band was great. So, it's been an awful lot of fun playing here, and hopefully Friday night will be the same way this week.
I guess box scores only say something, but just looking at these 2-game series that you play, are you seeing that the adjustments are making after the first game, the team is generally playing better on the second half, and if so, what would you attribute that to?
Well, I think overall, our Saturdays have been. I think, this weekend was interesting. Other teams make adjustments too, so sometimes you have to deal with that. And I think there's been some times on Friday nights where maybe we've surprised some teams and played a little better than they thought that we would. So, they come out with a little bit more fire. Certainly the first period on Saturday night, Notre Dame they were jumping a lot more than they were on the first period the night before. So, I think our guys are understanding, and as we implement more stuff, as they, we like to talk about automatics. When they get things that are a habit or a concept and they get those down, then when you change it, it's not, you're only changing like one or two little things. It's easier for them to implement that in the middle of a game. So, we're slowly getting to that point. There's still an awful lot on the table, and we're still, if you look at how you learn stuff in the cycle of it, it kind of turns this way. You get a little better, and then you get a little worse, and then you get a little better, but you hope the proficiency keeps gaining. So, they've done a decent job with changes on some things. Other things have been a little bit harder. We've been trying to stay away from changing and trying to do something that we haven't worked on, because that's, sometimes that's a good recipe for failure. But overall, they've done a great job, and you want it to be that way. You want it to be able to, make an adjustment and be better on the second night.
Maybe you need some time to think about it, but as a player or a fan of the program, as you said, growing up around here, is there a Michigan moment that stands out to you, a memory, or is that something you'd have to think?
The one, and I talked about it a little last night. It's not a good one. It's we lost a home game here 7-3, and I was saying that is probably as mad as I've seen Coach Mason, and Donnie McSween was our captain, and he wasn't one that fell to emotion very often, but there was a pretty good meeting after that, and I think that that's when I think the guys in the room, the young guys, we really even knowing what I knew about the program, I think that's when all of us, the young guys, figured out that these games were a little bit more important, and hopefully it won't take a game like that for our young guys to figure it out.
Speaking to that, Michigan State hasn't won a home game against the University of Michigan since 2014, I believe. How important is it to win those home games against your rival?
I've never lost a home game as a head coach against them, so I'd rather look at that stat, and it's all how you look at stats. It's what they don't tell you. It's important to win at home no matter who you're playing against. And I think these games obviously have a little more importance just from a pride standpoint and a rivalry standpoint. So if that's the case, then I think it's probably the most important, because there's been a lot of changes to the team. If you look at the makeup of that from coaches and players, it's probably more important for the fans. And and that's been a big emphasis for us this year. Is we want to be the kind of hockey team that our fans want to come out, want to be a part of, want to be proud of. So if that's an added incentive, then fine. But I think that's probably who it's most important for. But we want wins any way we can get them right now.
And finally, any update on Cody Milan and his status?
Yeah, he's doing better. He's in practice, and hopefully he can play this weekend, and we'll figure it out. So yeah, the guys, there's all bumps and bruises. We're at that time of the year.
And any update on APEP?
He's doing better too. Jeez, everybody's getting better. Dave Carrier is the best in the business. So
yes.
I think we had some pretty good news on him last night, and hopefully he won't be out very long. He's doubtful for this weekend, but hopefully it won't be a long-term thing.
You and Mel aren't going to get in any Twitter warfare today we need to keep an eye on, are you?
I have a Twitter account. My official number of tweets is 0, so I don't think either one of us want to get involved with anything like that.
You're not a tweeter then?
I am not, no.
God love you. In addition to the importance that we've talked about, you don't really play other than the national team until the first of the year. Is it kind of important to get a good feeling going into the break out of this?
Yeah, it's kind of like you go into a weekend. If you get a split, it's always better to win on Saturday night. You just feel better the next week. And I think what our guys have accomplished, and we had a bit of a meeting about this yesterday. I don't want it to be misunderstood or forgotten, or think that, hey, whatever happens this weekend determines what happens, or what we've accomplished in the first half and where we're going in the second half. At the same time, I think, heading into the break would be a great way, to end on a high note. And again, we go into every game, trying to figure out a way to win and wanting to win. But this would be a great weekend to play really well, get some results, and like you said, then we get some time to heal up and come back and attack the second half, because I checked, and the Big Ten's not getting any easier in the second half than it is in the first half. And, we're going to need everything going the right way, and hopefully a good weekend will help to do that.